Hey Wargamers, Josh here, and today we are going to be doing another tutorial on a Space Marine. This time we're going to be painting the Imperial Fist Brother Grimm with his heavy bolter from the Space Marine Adventure games. Let's jump into it.
We're going to start by cutting everything off the sprue and giving everything a nice prime in black. Once that primer is dry, we're going to move over to oak brown with the brush, and we're going to start with the base. I'm going to use oak brown as the base coat here, and I'm going to paint it over the entirety of the base minus the Space Marine's feet. Once that base coat is dry, we are going to move over to Dryad Brown, and we are going to do a heavy dry brushing of it to help to start bring out the details in that base coat. Once the Dryad Brown is dry, we're going to move over to Command Khaki and do a much lighter dry brush on it to really bring some definition to those colors. Then we're going to throw Demigod Flames into the airbrush and hit all of the base coats on our Space Marines body parts. Once that base coat is dry, we are going to move over to plate mail metal, and we are going to sloppily paint the entirety of his heavy bolter. We're not going to be super specific about the way the heavy bolter looks because it is all going to get covered up with another paint in the next step. After we're done with the bolter, we're going to move over to the face and highlight each of the silver pieces. That's going to be the earpieces, the breathing mask, and the details around the eye and the external sensor there. We are going to give all of our yellow parts a wash with the Army Painter Fanatics soft tone, and that is going to build in our shadows. Now, this step is not entirely necessary, but I do like the way that it builds the shadows. But we are also going to be able to build shadows a little while later with our highlighting step. We are going to use Greedy Gold for the skull on the chest, the skull on the heavy bolter, and the Aquila, the double eagle, on the backside of the Space Marine's armor. This is the only speed paint we are going to use in this, and that is Grimm Black, and we are going to use it across the heavy bolter as well as across that backpack that we have now painted silver. For our first layer of glazing, we are going to use the color Demonic Yellow in a slightly heavier than your average glaze to really make the colors here pop. You don't want to throw too much of it into the shadows or you'll lose what you spent with the wash, but you do want to make sure you cover up the majority of that Demigod Flames. The Imperial Fists are a very bright yellow color, and I think that this Demonic Yellow is really great. This is also the middle step up in the triad, so we are doing quite a big jump from the Demigod Flames, and I think these triads really put in the work and make the decisions to glaze and add shadows really simple. The demonic yellow glaze is going to go all over the high points of the models while making sure to retain some of those shadows and the distinct edges that we have built using our wash step. I sped this process up because it takes a while. This much glazing is a long process. I really enjoy the final product though, so it is definitely worth it. Up next is going to be our upper highlight color, and that is going to be ice yellow. That is the brightest color in this triad set. So I have now used the darkest color in Demigod Flames, the middle color in Demonic Yellow, and then my highlight color is going to be ice yellow. And I'm going to put this on all of the highest points of the armor, all of the raised edges, the upper areas, and anything that I think would be a little bit brighter. Now I'm going to apologize a little bit for the fuzzy footage here. I realized it was out of focus after the fact, but this is where we are starting with that demonic yellow as our glaze. Now this is a true glaze. I wanted my paint nice and thin here to really start to blend the lines and help fill in some of the texture left over from that first base coat of the yellows. Glazing is a skill that I am not particularly good at. I still am learning how to do glazing. It was never something that I learned how to do, but the triads from the Fanatics line really make it easy to understand what colors you should be using and what texture and viscosity that the paints should be. I am a big fan of those. Now that we have glazed our first layer of the yellows over there to help smooth out our transitions, I'm going to use Resplendent Red for his shoulder pad detailing. That's going to be all the edges of the shoulder pads and the underneath of the shoulder pads. And I'm also going to use that red color for the additional sensor on top of his helmet. I'm going to follow the same leather recipe here that I used in my last video with the Sergeant Cassius, and that's going to be the oak brown followed by dryad brown with a splinter of command khaki. Then we are going to move into sapphire blue to give a nice bright blue eye here on the Space Marine, as well as the eye sensor on the other side. The final step before decals is going to be a red weathering powder to tie the base and the miniature together, and then some decals. And guys, this miniature is all done. Thank you so much for sticking around. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you learned something. Make sure you tune in next time. I'm Josh. This is Wargames Delivered. And until then, we'll see you later.